Namaskar. My name is Wallace, live from Dharamkot, India. I just got here 19 days ago. Today, I will share with you a part of my daily life and a part of my journey on this earth. How I was born in a tiny, tiny village called Saint-Jean-Baptiste de Rouville, French part of Canada, to moving in many houses, to starting a business when I was 12 years old, getting many different businesses all my life, and eventually realizing that money is not the thing that we should be seeking, to going to the Amazonian jungle where I was dead, and eventually I went from William to Wallace, which today I go by the name of Wallace, and I'm on this spiritual path of life, of love, of understanding, of us, humanity, coming back together in union. So I'm from Canada, born in a country named Canada. Even though I don't believe in countries because it produced division between us, this is where I was born, in a small village named Saint-Jean-Baptiste de Rouville. It's the French part of Canada, so maybe you see my accent already. And from there, this small village of only 2,000 people that only speak French, we moved in a few places because my father was a diesel mechanic at the time, and he wanted to have a better job for me and my brother to give us a better life. While my mother was a hairdresser. She had her little salon inside her house. And my father decided to go back and do some studies to become a firefighter. And when he was a firefighter, when he graduated, he had to be open to move because the jobs are not everywhere. So eventually we moved from this small village past Montreal. We moved to a city called Hull. It's in today's Gatineau. So we moved into a duplex over there that my family bought, and we lived in one of the apartments of the duplex. And from there, my father got a job in Elmer. So we moved to another city in Elmer, and my father always was a guy with tons of talents. He's the kind of guy that can do anything. And this is one of the huge value and the huge skill that he passed on to me. He's well organized and he's very good with his hands. So when we got to Elmer, instead of renting something or buying a house, he decided to actually build a house by himself, completely. They found the land at a very good price in a sector that was developing. It was a full neighborhood that everywhere it was getting construction. And he bought a little land, and eventually he got the plans done by an architect. And then he started building by himself. So at a very young age, I saw all the struggles that he was going through to be able to build this house. Because it's not easy to make a house from the foundation up to the roof completely, and thinking about every situation, every detail. But my family was able to do this, especially with the skills of my father. Very, very impressive. So eventually we are in Elmer. We are settled in that house after, I don't know, maybe a year of construction, something like that, with the harsh winter of Canada. That's one thing we need to keep in mind, because it's very cold in Canada in the winter. And then we're settled there. I was like close to 6 or 7 years old at that time when we were settled in Elmer. And then I grew up, and around the age of 11, 12, my father started to ask me some very simple question, because he understood that in this modern era, we need something that we call money, this paper with symbols on it that is printed by a private company. And he told me, like, do you want to make a little bit of money? At a very young age, and I'm very grateful for that moment because I can still recall it. And he told me that in all the construction sites that you see in the neighborhood, there is some soda cans and beer cans, and this is like gold nuggets. So me as a young child, getting this information, understanding what paper money was, it clicked. So I took my bicycle and a garbage bag, and almost every night, I wouldn't say every night, but I was going to different construction sites in the neighborhood, picking up soda cans and beer cans. And at the end of the week, my father or my mother would take me to the grocery store when they were going shopping, and I would put the cans in that big machine, that big robot, and that robot would give me a little piece of paper, maybe $5 per week or something. But for me, just to have a piece of paper instead of coins was something big at that age. So this is when my entrepreneur journey started, really. I started many businesses after that, and the first one was cutting grass in my neighborhood, which eventually I was doing with a lawnmower, but the land were quite big. So eventually my father bought a tractor for our place, and I saw this as like a go-kart. So I started to cut the lawn at my place, and eventually I wanted to cut the grass of more people because I wanted to use the tractor. So then I eventually made some little sheet of paper, and I went door to door to all the different owners of the different houses, and I proposed my services. I offered my services. So at the age of around 14, I had, I think, 6 clients, and since that, I continued getting more clients till eventually I was around 16, 17, and I had around 20 clients that I was cutting the grass and maintaining the lawn. So eventually I decided, okay, maybe I can change this into a company, because I had so many clients, and then during that time I bought some equipment also. And in Canada, at the age of 17, you can get your driver's license. So I got my driver's license at 17 exactly. I bought a car, and after that, the car I had for a short period because I bought a pickup truck for the company. So I started a company called WHIP. It was WHIP Landscaping. WHIP, it's a play on words, because in Canada, a whip is the little machine that we use to do the edges. And also WHIP means William Incorporated, landscaping, but in French, it's paysagement. So then I started this business, and I had a very unique pickup truck that behind the pickup truck, we installed some artificial grass. So I always had this thinking of branding, which is very important, marketing. And then from the landscaping company, it keeps on growing every year. I continued buying equipment, landscaping equipment, that I was buying used equipment, and I was selling because I was repairing something, maybe painting again, or just finding very good deals online and then selling it again. So I had many clients, and I just bought my pickup truck to make this an official business. So I had a pickup truck, and I had to buy a trailer to put the tractor and the different lawnmowers. And with the pickup truck, I had an idea to be very unique, so everyone in the city would know me. And we decided to buy some artificial grass. And I say we because my father helped me to put it on the back of the pickup truck. But we put some artificial grass on all the back box of the pickup truck. So everyone knew me very rapidly. In one summer, everyone knew who I was, the business WHIP Landscaping. So then I keep on getting more clients every year. I eventually started to do some interlock, some pavements, then building balconies also, building little sheds. So I was doing more than just landscaping at that time. So there was like a division of construction. Then we're getting close to the age of 18, and now I think I have 2 pickup trucks, I have a few trailers. I have tons of equipment. I'm still living at my parents' home. I'm very, very grateful, and I'm lucky enough that they were letting me store my equipment over there because I had quite a lot of equipment. And then I had many clients. I was still buying used equipment, selling, buying used car and selling. Then I started a little clothing company for a short time. I was just making bandanas like this and I was selling them. And eventually, with all of this, getting so many clients, you know, getting so many clients, I realized that I can do almost everything I put my mind to. So at the age of 20, I think, yeah, around the age of 20, I started to do real estate also. So I bought a house that with two other partners. That was a big lesson because in business, sometimes some people wants to work more than others, and I was always the one who wanted to work more and make it happen. But during that time when we bought that house and we wanted to flip it, I had two partners who wanted to partner with me to do this project. And I realized not long after we bought the house that I was going to be the only one almost doing the project because they had their regular jobs and I was probably the only entrepreneur that was really focused on making this happen. So I had time, I had tools, I had employees, and I was working like crazy, starting at 6, 7 a.m. and ending at 10, 11 p.m. while they were working their regular jobs. Eventually, we finish renovating this house. We sell it. There was a big profit on that house that was supposed to come to me because of my over 500 hours that I've put inside. But those guys, they were not ready to take a loss because they didn't put any time, not any time, they didn't put a lot of time. So they had to pay my hours. That was the deal at the beginning. But they were 2 versus 1 and they never paid me. So I lost almost $20,000 when I was 21 with that project. And not long after, I bought a 3-unit building with another friend, and that didn't go well also. So the story of my success is many failures. I went many times where the people would not go, and I tried, and I had the vision to make it happen and make it succeed. But it's part of the learning. So there's tons of moment where it didn't work. Like that time, that 3-unit building, it didn't work. There was many renovation to do inside. And again, I was lucky enough that my partner in that business, his mother bought me back. So she bought back my part and I was able to get out of that project. So during all those years of starting many businesses, trying different projects in completely different sectors, I was carrying a disease for a long time, from the age of 15 to the age of 20, 21. And this disease is called just acne. It's very simple. Most people think, oh, it's not a big problem because it's just pimples. But when you have severe acne and you are the one with the acne and you are the one looking at yourself in the mirror every morning, it's the most painful thing that you can live with, especially if you're someone who's very caring about his look and who wants to please the ladies, especially during that time, you know, from 15 to 20, you care about what the girls are seeing and you want to attract women, for example, like the feminine energy. And you see yourself in the mirror and you have always new pimples, mucus, a lot of pus, and you're always picking on them because you don't like what you see in the mirror. You're telling yourself bad things because every morning there's a new pimple. Eventually my face was also completely offset because it was so intense. And for years and years, you go to the dermatologist and they give you pills, they give you shampoo, they give you cream, they give you all sorts of medicine, supposedly, gels and other stuff, and nothing works, but it costs a lot of money. And nothing works. So after 4 or 5 years of having acne and starting many businesses and carrying this and not feeling really good inside, even though I'm making a little bit of money for my age, I realized that I had to take this problem into my own hands. So I started to do some research online, and I realized that all animals and all humans, we have a endocannabinoid system. It's a system made almost exclusively for connecting with the cannabis plant, because the cannabis plant has tons of cannabinoids. And we have CB1 and CB2 receptors. All animals and all humans, like I said, have this system, and this is directly linked to the inflammation. So when I saw this online, I thought, okay, I need to try it. But there was nothing available in Canada. It was completely illegal. But it was legal in the neighboring country, which is the United States. So I've ordered a bottle before one winter. I've ordered a bottle from the United States. I received it after a week and a half, something like that. And I start to take this CBD oil under my tongue every morning for 2 weeks. And in just 2 weeks, I started to see my inflammation go down. So for me, it was a big progress. It was something very different from all the dermatologist's products. So I saw the effect. It helped me so much that I thought, okay, if it's going to remove my acne, remove my inflammation, it could help someone else in this world. And since there was nothing done in Canada on CBD, I decided, all right, I'm going to start a CBD company. Also because in Canada, because of the harsh winter, during the winter, all my projects and businesses were slowing down, coming almost to a stop. So it was the best of both worlds. I would be able to help myself, help the world, and also the business would be running during the winter. So I started to develop a supply chain completely. I found some bottles from China, glass bottles from China. I imported this. Then I found the flavors in California. Those are just natural aroma. We had mint and oranges. So after that, I had to find a manufacturer. And the manufacturer was the hardest part because I was doing this illegally. But I was not doing this immorally, because I was doing this from my heart. I wanted to help myself and help the world. So I found a lab finally in Terrebonne, and this is after visiting maybe 6 different labs to do manufacture. No one wanted to work with me because I had no license, and it was just in the gray area when Canada was getting cannabis legalized, and some people could get a license, but it was $500,000 to get a license. I didn't have this money. I had enough money to create a supply chain, to develop the products, to make an e-commerce, to make an Instagram page, and eventually launch the product. So after getting the raw material from Scandinavia, the labels from Label Link in Montreal, the lab in Terrebonne, the bottles from China, and the flavors from California, the lab was manufacturing everything, sending back to my warehouse in Quebec. And then I had the e-commerce and the Instagram page to make the marketing. And I did everything myself at the beginning. I was alone. And after 6 months of product development, we launched the business. And right away, it was quite a good success because I was starting the marketing even before the company started. So the Instagram page already had some following, already got some traction, but I still had no products. But the day I said the e-commerce is open and ready to ship, we already received some orders. And from there, I was 21 and it just climbed up for a very long time. It was growing. I was reinvesting the money. All the profit was going back into the business. And eventually one morning, I still remember, I was living in a very small apartment in a basement. And at that time, during the time of the company, I was waking up around 7 a.m. But that morning, I woke up around 5. Really special. Like all of a sudden, I wake up around 5. I see myself, the first thing I'm doing is picking up my cell phone that morning, which is not something I was doing usually, because I know how important the morning is. But that morning, I woke up at 5, pick up my cell phone, and the first thing I see on Facebook is a news channel interviewing my brother on the side of the road, on the side of a highway almost. And he's all white, super pale, like his skin is very pale. You can tell he was in shock. And in the background of the video, you see the blue and the red, the blue and the red of the police car. And I'm just very confused seeing this video. And then I'm listening to it and I hear that he got into an accident. A very special accident that most of the time will kill someone by 2 options. He was riding his motorcycle and he hit a deer. Usually if you hit a deer, you either go over your motorcycle and then you hit your head on the ground and you maybe break so many bones in your body and you might die, or the deer will jump and it will hit you in the chest and you will fall backwards, and same result, you might die. And that day, for whatever reason of this universe, my brother was riding at 100 kilometers and he told me that he saw his headlight of his motorcycle not being very bright. So he was looking at the headlight thinking, why is it so low? And when he lifted up his head, he told me that it was like a flash, like in a movie. And when he opened up his eyes again, he went from 100 kilometers to like 40. His visor was all red and green. And he stopped on the side of the road, and when he opened up his visor and he looked back, he saw on one side 2 legs and a tail, and he saw on the other side 2 legs and a head. So he went and drove directly in the middle, perfectly in the middle on the Y and X axis to split the deer in half. So my brother, it's easy to imagine, lived a near-death experience. And when you live a near-death experience, you have a spike of DMT in your mind, in your brain. So after the accident of my brother, him and I, we got very interested in the molecule that we call DMT. We started to do a lot of research online to understand what is a near-death experience, why it happened, how do we feel, and how my brother was feeling, because he was the one in that accident, in that very intense accident. But all of those research eventually got us to find ayahuasca, which is a type of potion, a type of drink that is brown, that is made from 2 plants found in the Amazonian jungle. Chacruna plant and the ayahuasca vine. The chacruna has something like 97% DMT, and the ayahuasca vine has anti-inhibitor. So when you mix those 2 together, the DMT can have effect on your body, and you have like a higher consciousness suddenly. You have an opening, you have many doors that are opening, the veil is falling, and you can understand so many new things about you and about life that you couldn't without ayahuasca. And eventually my brother and I, we saw this happening, we read some book, we booked a ticket and we went to Peru. We landed in Lima, we flew to Cusco, we took a bus from Cusco to Puerto Maldonado, and in Puerto Maldonado, we got into the Amazonian jungle from the Wasay Hostel. If someone wants to go to Puerto Maldonado, I recommend the Wasay Hostel. And from there, we walked 5 or 6 kilometers in the Amazonian jungle, and we went and did 3 ayahuasca ceremonies back to back to back, 3 days in a row. And I highly recommend to do at least 2 ceremonies of ayahuasca, not just 1, because just 1 ceremony, sometimes it's too much information. You cannot comprehend anything that is happening. You're not able to surrender. You're not able to walk in and follow and let go. So I recommend 2. But we did 3. And from that moment, everything that was associated with William, because this is how I was born. My mother and my father gave me the name William, the entrepreneur and all of that. I felt like William died in the Amazonian jungle after the first ceremonies of ayahuasca, because you really, really feel like dying sometimes. Not everyone will have this experience, but I personally thought I was going to die. I thought it was done. And the only thing I could do in that moment was accept it, surrender. And I thought, all right, I'm going to die, and that's it. And from that moment, after that, we exit the jungle, and I was Wallace. Everyone in Peru, for some reason, they were calling me Wallace, and I just accepted the name Wallace. So I've been Wallace since. So after doing the 3 ceremonies of ayahuasca in Peru, my brother and I, we got back to Canada. And we got back to Canada with some new glasses. We were not seeing the world as we were seeing it before. Suddenly, it was not about the corporate world. It was not about a career. It was not about money. It was mostly about the breath, about peace, about spirituality, about understanding what is this world, what is this life. And this path is a very beautiful path that will allow you to go deep inside and realize that all the answers are really inside of you. And instead of trying to find the truth outside, let's try to find the lies inside. Because we can be our best ally and we can be our best enemy also. And we are seeing the world just as we are. So we need to change ourselves if we want to change the world. And when I got back to Canada, my family mostly, my ex-girlfriend, it's very impressive to say, but we spent only 2 weeks in Peru, my brother and I, and in 2 weeks I changed completely, because they were not able to kind of recognize me. They all said I've changed completely, because I had this very successful business running that everyone almost in this world would just continue doing this business and taking those huge revenue to 10x that revenue that year, and then again and again, and just getting more money and more money. You get to 1 million, you want 10, you get to 10, you want 100. But then you realize this is a numbers game. It never ends. Instead, find who you are. Find peace inside. Become the love of your life. And all of this will bring you so much peace, so much peace. And this is how simple this life is. Remember when you were a kid how simple it was? Then we enter the corporate world and the career, and it gets very complex and very stressful and a big weight on our shoulders. But then when you get into the spiritual path and you get deeper and you really do the work, you don't just talk about it, you really do the work. You try to understand, why do we eat 3 meals a day? Why do we eat certain type of food? Is it optimal? Why do we sleep so long? Why do people work so hard? When you start to really ask questions about what is this life, it will probably bring you back to meditation. Because meditation is the art of doing nothing. And it's very useful to be useless, because people cannot use you. And just sitting doing nothing is very productive. They don't want you to think like that. They want you to think that being productive is doing something, but not doing anything. You are healing, you are finding yourself. And the only purpose that we all have in this world is the purpose to master yourself. The body is the battlefield, and you need to be present. You need to take care of your health, you need to take care of your mind, you need to take care of your spirituality. You need to understand what are those trees, and what is this life, what are those plants, why you have this divine body, what it can do. And be very careful with what you say with this mouth, and what you are hearing, what you are listening. Because this is like a very tunable machine. You can change this completely if you really want to. First of all, you clean it, then you exercise, you make it sweat, you breathe deeper, you meditate, you go see inside. Only by meditation you'll be able to analyze the mind and understand what's happening inside of you. And this is the path to mastery of yourself. Thank you for following me on this journey. Thank you for following me on this day to see a little bit of my activity, on my daily activity, what is my routine like. And now we are live here from India, Dharamkot. And I arrived here after 4 years of traveling. I went through many countries, visiting temples, because I realized that knowledge is way more valuable than any amount of money. While I still use money to travel, I agree. There is a way to travel with very little money, if you're able to eat very little and sleep anywhere. So I went to Mexico, Guatemala, Nicaragua. I went to Bolivia, Peru. After Peru, I actually went to France and Europe, where I didn't stay for a long time because it's very expensive. But I was doing a presentation over there, a geopolymer chemistry presentation. After France, I went to Egypt. After Egypt, I went Thailand. I went Cambodia. I went to Bali. I came back to Cambodia. I came to India one time. I was in the south for 6 months. And this time now, I'm in Dharamkot, where I really enjoy. The weather is fresh, the air is pure, the people are awesome. I love the landscape, and such a beautiful place to be right now. It's been 4 years of traveling. That brings me to an age of 28 years wise. I will not say old, because I think I will be on this earth for 300 plus years. So there is a way to actually live a lot longer than 100, than 200, than 300. And this is by taking care of your health, mastery over the self, and having true will, wanting to go the extra mile, making the impossible possible. There is a way, and this way is inside of you. You need to close your eyes and see inside of you. See it.